This just in, the body of a transgender woman has been found in the alley on Orange Blossom Trail in Church Street.
Lord God, no, no! People with mental illness, various racial and ethnic groups, and gay and lesbian individuals. Gay individual civil rights versus civil rights, and same-gender marriages.
Listen, I know that saying he is not gay-friendly. He's gonna lose it.
Hello, welcome to Affirming Love Podcast, where we are acknowledging, announcing, confirming, encouraging, and upholding love for LGBTQ plus individuals and allies. I am your host, Laverne Simpson, advocate, leader, and member of the LGBTQ plus community. CEO of Creative and Spiritual Resolutions, where I'm a spirit guide and spirit healer. Writer, director, and producer of Love Simpson Creations, theatrical productions, as well as founder, former leader, and wedding officiant of Affirming Love Ministries, a radically inclusive ministry for LGBTQ plus individuals and allies. Each week on Affirming Love Podcast, we will be breaking down real conversations about beliefs, relationships, entrepreneurship, leadership, personal development, and growth. Welcome to Affirming Love Podcast. Welcome. Today we are acknowledging not someone, but something. We are acknowledging Affirming Love Stage play, Affirming Love Podcast, and the history that goes behind it. So in 2002, I had a dream that I was out seeking and building to start a church. And that ministry became Affirming Love Ministries. I heard the title in my sleep. I remember writing it down and everything. Well, I didn't start the church right away. The church wasn't founded until November of 2011. The church was a radically inclusive ministry for LGBTQ plus individuals and allies. The ministry was still active and before COVID took place. My great friend, Reverend Roland Stringfellow, had created a program. The program was designed to facilitate safe, non-threatening dialogue about the diversity of human sexuality and the tension that sometimes exists within African American faith communities in relation to LGBTQ plus individuals. Regardless to your position on that topic, everyone will benefit from exploring the social and emotional impact of excluded loved ones who wanted to be a part of the church but just didn't feel welcome. The program covered the theology of inclusion of those who were divorced, people with mental illness, various racial and ethnic groups, and gay and lesbian individuals, theology versus sexuality, church and family dynamic with gay individuals' civil rights versus gay rights, and same-gender marriages and families. And now, back to our show. So when Reverend Stringfellow introduced the program to me, he introduced it so that I could host and facilitate that program at my church with some local mainstream ministries that were right there in the neighborhood with us. When I read the program before actually facilitating and hosting it, immediately it just was in my spirit. It dropped in my spirit to turn that program into a play. With the program, there were also scenarios of real life people and what it was like for them opening up to their families, announcing that they were LGBTQ plus individuals, what it was like dealing with their faith communities once they found out, their coming out stories and a lot of other things. So after reading everything, I spoke with Reverend Stringfellow and asked if he would be okay with me turning the program into a stage play. And he gave me his okay. So that is how the Affirming Love stage play came about. In the Affirming Love stage play, there are scenarios of a young lady who is what we call a stud, who's a lesbian, whose mother is deep into the faith community, into her religion, and how she turned against her daughter and said some very, very absurd, obnoxious things to her. That is the story of Jennifer and Miss Causey. There's also scenery talking about a father who found out about his son um, liking men or being same gender loving through a letter that was written to him by a young man that he was attracted to, and how his father turned against him. There's a scene about a transgendered male to female transgender woman who fell in love with a man who she thought was in love with her, and only to find out that he was homophobic. From there, she is murdered by him. And it's Affirming Love stage play is very deep. And I would suggest everyone to watch it. I would love for you all to go and purchase the play. You can purchase the play on Gumroad. Here's the link on how to purchase it. You can rent it for $12. You can purchase it for your own records for $18. You can rent it for $12, or you can purchase it for your own records for $18. However, the stage play is very deep. After writing the stage play, I was in Detroit, Michigan when I wrote the stage play. We had actually put a deposit down on a venue. We were organizing everything on how we were going to do auditions, where we were going to do them at, the whole 9 yards, and then COVID took place. We actually put a deposit down on the venue, but the governor of Michigan called the state of emergency and shut everything down. So we didn't have the opportunity to put the play on stage at that time. After the state opened back up, the church did not survive COVID, and my partner and myself relocated to Florida. Once we got to Florida, I was off of work for a little while because I'm an insurance agent and I had to get my license canceled from Michigan and then transferred over to Florida. And so in the meantime of waiting, I'm sitting trying to figure out what I'm going to do before I start back work, or, while I'm waiting to start back work. And then it just came to me, like the spirit dropped it in my heart to put that play on stage. I heard the spirit say it was time to put Affirming Love stage play on stage. So I actually went seeking out some venues, and we debuted in August of 2023 at the Imagine Theater in Oviedo, Florida. This was my first time actually putting a play on stage. Now, I've written several plays in the church that we've done in the church. I wrote a play called The Birth of Jesus. I've written several skits. I wrote a play called How in Heaven Do I Date, which was all focused around the LGBTQ plus community and church. And so this wasn't the first play that I wrote, wasn't the first skit, but it was the first stage play that I actually put on stage live in a actual theater. So it was wonderful. It was phenomenal. When I tell you the cast of the Affirming Love Stage play, I don't know if it could get any better. It was just phenomenal. So in the meantime, after we kind of looked around for a venue, started looking for a place to hold auditions, started looking for a place to do rehearsals. With the stage play, you got to have all that set up. We visited a church called Joy Metropolitan Community Church in Orlando, Florida, where Pastor Terry Steed Pierce is the senior pastor, and we visited there. And while visiting, had an opportunity to speak with Pastor Terry and to ask her if she knew any places where we might be able to hold any rehearsals. Just tell her that we were looking for a place to possibly do some auditions, just looking for resources on the LGBTQ plus community in Orlando, in Florida, preferably in Orlando because it was where we were closest to, but the most known city that we lived close to. So and now back to our show. I talked to Pastor Terry, and she actually said that she would go to her board and ask the board what they felt about us having rehearsals at the church, because there were days that no one was there, and so we would rent out the church. And she didn't charge us. God bless you, Pastor Terry didn't charge us, but just said whatever we were able to donate to the church for utilizing the facility. She allowed us to donate to the church. And so that was a blessing. Everything was falling in divine order, y'all. It was just phenomenal. So once I talked to Pastor Terry and we actually got that established, and we talked to the theater, found out that the owner of the theater was at the time was actually um, getting ready to sell the theater, but he had a contract where it was like a 50-50 contract. So you didn't have to put a deposit down. You just had half of your proceeds the proceeds were split half and half between the theater and then the production. So that was a blessing, right? Because honestly, I didn't have any money. I had money, but I used my 401k. I used money from my 401k to put the play on stage. It had to be done, right? This play had to go on stage. But after talking to the owner of the theater, there was a lot that came with the package of the theater. So we didn't have to pay extra to utilize the theater for auditions. We didn't have to pay extra to use the theater for the final rehearsals. We could use the theater, there were different areas of the theater that we could use whenever it was available. As long as it wasn't being used, it came along with the package. It was just divine. So we were able to do the auditions at the theater. We had a couple of days of doing the auditions at the theater, in which we accomplished that. And you're going to meet some of the staff later on within this series and find out how it impacted their lives and what everything was like for them. We also were the last week, of course, we had to have our final rehearsals, and the only other thing we had to do was build our set. And so a wonderful young lady, Megan, from Joy Metropolitan Community Church, is an art teacher, and so she also agreed to put the set together. So she wanted to do that and allowed us to donate to her however much we could afford to give her to put the set together. She didn't give us any set price, and that was a blessing. Oh my goodness. When I tell you everything about putting this stage play was a blessing, it just dropped. It was in divine order. And so Megan put our set together. Then I was introduced to a young man named Jacob Eating. Jacob is freaking awesome. And I spoke with Jacob. He helped. He ended up, listen, he was at the theater. He was working at the theater the day that we started our auditions. Jacob was at the theater. He was rehearsing because he was running classes at the theater. And oh my God, he came over and asked about what we were doing and heard about the play and heard that we were auditioning. And I asked him if he would audition. And he was like, sure, like at the drop of a dime. He was like, sure. And so I gave him a couple of sides to read. He auditioned for it. Oh my goodness. Listen, when I tell y'all the people that came to audition for this play, some of them had never had experience, right? We had a young lady whose name is Ashley. She was a member of Joy Metropolitan Community Church. She had never acted before, but she ended up becoming Courtney, who is the transgender female, the transgender woman in the play. Now, Ashley is same gender loving, but she's not a transgender. She's a female, uh, naturally born a female, but she took on the role as a transgender woman. Phenomenal. She did a wonderful job. You guys got to see this play. Then we also had Madison Wilkins. Oh my goodness. Now, Madison Wilkins is a male to female transgender woman. She came to audition, didn't know what part was auditioning for. Perfect. Perfect. Zachary Eckhart. Zachary was awesome. Oh my goodness. Zach played several roles. He is a cisgender male. No one knew Philip Wright. I got to talk about Philip Wright. Oh my goodness. Philip Wright, Kendra, just all of the actors and actresses that were in it were just phenomenal. I even pulled in some of my friends who had no idea I was going to do it, but I needed them. They were there to help me with the auditions. They helped me with running the auditions and getting everybody back and getting them signed up. And so shout outs to my friend, Robin Harris. She came in out of nowhere. I just threw a roll or two on her and she accepted them and I appreciated her for it. Oh my God, she did a wonderful job as well. One of my great brothers, my friend, Apostle Pete Atkins. I threw a couple rolls on him. Listen, he accepted. It was so wonderful. His friend Michael, we needed people to fill in parts and things like that, and they stepped up to the plate. Listen, it was, everyone that came to see this play, there was not a dry eye in the theater. And it just really touches and impacts in such a way. And it just was phenomenal. Everybody worked together to get it together. Jacob had introduced me to some people as well. I got introduced to Miss Maya Jones, who ended up doing the lighting. I got introduced to Joshua Huey, who ended up doing the sounds. I cannot forget Mr. Keith Andes. Mr. Keith Andes, a producer, right? Music producer. Diana Coley. Thank you guys so much. Shouts out to Diana Coley. I met her at the Chamber of Commerce for the LGBTQ plus Chamber of Commerce. She was at one of the meetings. I went to the meeting trying to find out how I could find people to be in the play, trying to find different facilities to have rehearsals and things like that. And Diana heard about it. She was so excited and wanted to help me. And she didn't charge me anything. She introduced me to Keith. Keith put the music together for the play. He didn't charge me a dime. When I tell you it was in divine order, I sat down with people and sat at the table with people that were phenomenal, that I would never think I would run into, but that is how the divine works. Diana helped me put flyers out. She put out announcements. Oh, she did so much. And I'm so grateful for her. Mr. Keith, he did meetings with my readers, didn't charge us a dime. And listen, it turned out so well. I could not be more proud of the Affirming Love Stage play. Reverend Rowland came in town once the play was on stage. So we ran the play for 3 days, Friday, once on Friday evening, twice on Saturday, and once on Sunday evening. The crowd just kept getting bigger and bigger. I had this older lady, a senior, who called me. I don't even know how she got my number. I guess the owner of the theater gave her my number, and she wanted to ask me questions about the play, and she wanted to be there to see it because we had put this poster up at the we put the poster up at the theater, so outside of the theater, so everybody could see when it was coming up. And the lady called me and was like, and I think she had to be like 86 years old, and she was like, I'm driving an hour there to see the play, and I just want to make sure that I have the times right. Listen, that lady hugged me. It was like she knew me. She was like an angel. She hugged me so tight. I also had a chaplain that came who was friends with Chief Apostle Keith Atkins, who they had debated over the LGBTQ plus community and faith-based communities. They had been debating for years about this. And this chaplain was just, no, totally against the LGBTQ plus community and church and all of that. She actually came to see the play. And when she came to see the play, she ran late on the first day that she came. And after seeing the portion that she did see, she literally came back the next day. Came back to see the play again because she wanted to see it from the very beginning. And when I tell you, after seeing that play, she hugged my neck so hard and she said, listen, you keep doing what you're doing. God has great things in store for you. This is a woman who's totally against the LGBTQ plus community. But it brought about such enlightenment and education, and the scenes open people's eyes to what actually takes place in the LGBTQ plus community that people don't even realize. So the Affirming Love Stage play is a drama based on matters of life and death that exist in the lives and relationships of LGBTQ plus individuals, cisgender individuals, their families, and faith communities. There is input and dialogue that was in the Umoja Project curriculum that is added to help you get from one scene to the next scene. So I just invite you all to stay tuned in this series. We're going to talk to some of the cast members of Affirming Love Stage play. We're going to talk to Reverend Roland Stringfellow, who is the creator of the Umoja Project and also co-writer to Affirming Love Stage play via the Umoja Project. And I hope you guys really, really, really enjoy what you hear and take an opportunity to go and see the Affirming Love Stage play through Gumroad. That will conclude our show for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in to Affirming Love Podcast, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you. Bye. All right, everyone, that concludes our episode for today. We hope you enjoyed it. Tune in with us weekly on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Remember to follow, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you for tuning in to Affirming Love Podcast. I'm a member of the Affirming Love community through Patreon and hear more behind-the-scene conversations with our guests and much more.